Que Dios bendiga su sagrada misión en el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Amen. So I now invite you to lock arms as we sing together as our delegation attempts to enter the facility.
Pero también pido esta mañana como pastor de la iglesia, representando la fe, la convicción de la iglesia católica.
So I'm Father David Inchauskas. I'm a priest of the Society of Jesus, and I'm also a doctoral student in philosophy here at Loyola University Chicago. And I study philosophy of liberation, as well as phenomenology and critical theory. And then I'm also a member of the Clergy Council for the Coalition of Spiritual and Public Leadership, which has been organizing these different events that have been taking place outside of the Broadview Detention Facility, attempting to offer communion to those who have been detained by ICE and Border Patrol here in Chicago. We arrived at the center. I served as the MC for this event.
Para simbolizar nuestra solidaridad con nuestros hermanos y hermanas que se encuentran en el centro de detención y después todos participaremos en la Sagrada Comunión.
And then after that, we sent a delegation of 8 priests, religious sisters, and lay people who attempted to go into the facility to offer communion. And we want to do this as something that the Catholic Church does really every day. We also know that the Catholic Church has had access to that facility to offer pastoral care to detainees previously. Sister Joanne Persh was a great example of this. For many years, she had been going to that very facility and ministering to those who were inside. And so we had gone in order to do the same thing in this moment of great oppression, where many migrants have been violently torn away from their families, from their places of work, but also they've been torn away from their churches. So these are people who are members of our parishes all throughout Chicago who have been ripped away from that community and deprived of the sacraments of the church.
You know, certainly in a place like Back of the Yards neighborhood, for the first few weeks of the month of September, were some of the hardest hit communities where every single day, multiple occasions of federal agents came and terrorized communities. One example right a few blocks from here. Home Depot, 47th Street in Chicago, a tamale vendor, well known in the Back of the Yards community, sells at that booth every single day. The money and proceeds that she gets from all of the tamale sales go towards her kids' education so that they can go to college, so they can pay for their bills, tuition. That woman, 6 weeks ago, was surrounded by ICE agents and plucked right from her booth while she was selling tamales.
Stand was started here by Laura Murillo, and she has been working here for years on different stands around Chicago, South Side. And then she got picked up September 25th by Border Patrol agents, and that's when they did the raid on the Home Depot behind us. And she spent 3 days in Broadview, and then she got transferred to detention facility in El Paso, and she has been there since that day. And we're waiting to see what if we could get her back. We got engaged Father's Day, and we were supposed to get married in a mass church wedding at a Catholic church on the weekend of Valentine's Day. Her story is she's been in this country like over 20 years, and she has a daughter at Roosevelt University and one at George Washington High School. She just turned 17 yesterday, but she has special needs. So there's no I don't think it's fair that a mother like that works, that owns her own business, should be taken away, especially from like special needs children. So that's why I decided to do it. I never did this before. When I got here, there was a pickup truck with 4 agents inside. And I was just questioning them. How can a 54-year-old woman be a threat to you guys or anybody else? I mean, even if you've got guns, what is she gonna throw, tamales and champurrado at you? I mean, how is she a threat? And they just couldn't answer.
Immediately the next day after she was detained, neighbors and residents took over her booth with her same thermos container, with her same pot of boiling water that helps in the cooking of tamales, and took over her booth, selling tamales, not for them, but to send back to her where she is. That to me is what church is. That we see that where there's harm with someone else, we see that where someone is struggling, we can rise to respond to the circumstance. That's what it means to be living liberation theology. What's happening to people being plucked off the street should harm every Catholic. You know, we don't go around and ask everyone, where do you go to church? Where do you go to church? It's about being church. And some are baptized and some are not. Some are showing us how baptized Catholics should be living, should be authentically sharing their mission.
Jesus went into the temple to expel the money changers, right? Which is a radical act of civil disobedience, right? And so we have to ask ourselves, can the church be as bold today as Jesus Christ was in the first century? So we let the Department of Homeland Security know 10 days in advance, 8 days in advance, and also because we had not received a positive response from the Department of Homeland Security, myself as well as 3 others from the Coalition for Spiritual and Public Leadership went to the downtown ICE office in order to hand deliver a letter to a representative from ICE with this request. Once again, we sent a delegation to attempt to offer communion. Once again, ICE told us no. There were folks in the general public who saw this event occur and felt really deceived. You know, how is it that an administration which values religious liberty is denying religious liberty to detainees? People who are on death row are able to receive communion and receive spiritual care. Why is it that detainees in this prison camp on the outskirts of Chicago are not allowed to receive communion? We also see a great hypocrisy in the administration insofar as they're detaining people in these inhumane conditions, and they also say that they were meant to be an administration of transparency, right? That they would clean the swamp.
Yeah, well, I want this lies to stop. It's just, I think that she felt comfortable working because from what they were telling us that they were going to go after criminals and dangerous people and drug dealers and this and that. Well, she's none of that. And a lot of people, I think the majority of the people that have gotten picked up, most of them were working when they got picked up. It's not like they were out there committing felonies or even misdemeanors. They just got picked up working. And that's not what we were told was going to happen. And it's not fair. Like I said, yesterday she turned 55 and she's in a detention. And her daughter turned 17 and she cannot be with mom. And she doesn't understand. Who would be bad enough to take her mom?
We see actually in this event that the waters are very muddy and that there's no transparency that is allowed because evil seeks to hide its face. Evil does not want to be exposed for what it is.
God acts by calling people to do work in history, to liberate in history as well. This is not to say that we're going to have a perfect utopia here on earth, 50 years from now. I don't think that that's the case. But I do think that God calls us to move, as Martin Luther King Jr. would say, the arc of history towards justice through collaborating with God.